What's up, nerds? Welcome back. Today I'm talking about a book that I haven't talked about in a while because it took a long time for this third issue to come out. That issue is Orphan and the Five Beasts, number 3. Alright, so like I said, I have been keeping up with this series. It's just this third issue only just recently came out. Like, it took a long time to actually get it. So, I'm glad to see that it is still going on. It didn't just get canceled. They didn't just pull the plug on it. But anyway, let's kind of get into what we actually have here. If you will remember, we have the orphan Mo, who in the last issue defeated Thunder Thighs. She managed to kill him and everything. And then all of his bandit followers or whatever, his men ended up just saying, okay, we're gonna go ahead and follow you now because you seem like better than him and you definitely were able to kick his ass, like you killed him. So now they're following after her, and they come to this like little village town whatever, and like at first they're all saying like, oh wow, look at all of this, like this is right for the taking, we can definitely go in there and like start taking what we want. She turns around, she's like, you're done with all of that? Yes. So he's just like, okay, yeah, whatever you say, boss. So and they start telling her, still, I always wondered why he never let us loot the place. She says because it wasn't his territory. Another beast calls this town home. So they start walking in there and they can see like all of the people kind of just look a little bit disheveled, I guess. And the place itself doesn't really look all that clean. So they're kind of walking and they're like, damn, I thought the mountains were grim. This place looks like it fell off the back of a turnip cart and into a funeral. So she's saying like the corruption runs deep here. There may even be more than one beast laying in wait. So they start like looking around, and then some of them start telling Mo like, we're actually really hungry. Like, can we go get some food? And they're saying like, Thunder Thighs wasn't really all that good about sharing with us. So she's like, oh, okay, yeah, go ahead. She says, I'm sure there's a modest inn where we can. They're like, all right, yeah, y'all heard the boss. Like, let's go get some food. So they like pick her up and they start like following their noses towards something that smells good. And there are these two who end up. Well, we'll see what ends up happening to them. Anyway. So they take off, and those two are saying, like, hey, boss, don't you worry about a thing. Me and Hot Pan will scout out the rest of the town for you. Yeah, we'll sniff out any trouble, because, of course, they want to try and see what they can actually take without Mo, like, knowing about it. So they're saying, like, yeah, y'all go ahead, y'all go eat, like, enjoy yourselves. If we find any more demonic horse squeezers, we'll let you know. So they take off, and then they're like, she'll never find out. Let the rest of those fools eat the slop they serve at the flop house while we dine like the emperor. So they take off and do that shit. And then we get this scene where they're all in like this little inn kind of eating food and everything at this particular inn. And they're like, the owners, I guess, are being very giving, very welcoming and shit. And so they're telling her, or they're telling Mo basically that the reason why is because they've been losing a lot of business to the other place that's in the town that's apparently a lot more popular. So they're trying to get whatever they can. They say usually like people will come by, but they really kind of only come by like once. After they eat at that other place, they don't end up coming back here anymore. So that's where she's asking, like, what's the other restaurant? They're like, yes, Chopper Tang's joint. We still nab the odd traveler passing through, but once they smell what he's got cooking down the road, honestly, I've been tempted to try the place out myself on more than one occasion. We're surprised you folks didn't go there first. And she's just like, I suppose my sense of smell is dulled a bit. So that makes all like the guys like start, I don't even know what the hell they're doing, burping? Like, what the hell is that? Anyway. So the wife is saying, oh, we're not complaining, dear. Now, please enjoy yourselves. We'll be back with more wine. So they're just like, yes, wine. So we see where the other two, Hot Pan, and I can't remember the name of the other one, they finally come across, like, this other place, Chopper Tang's, and then they're like, all right, yeah, it's time to eat. So they walk in there, or they kind of, like, hustle their way in there, start shoving people out of the way and shit. And then they get some of the food, they start eating it and everything, and then we see this part where like one of the bowls goes flying and it lands on the floor, and all the people just immediately like dive on it like they're dogs, like rabid dogs and shit. So I mean they're kind of there and they're losing their minds over floor meat. This town is full of loonies, and that's when they see, or one of them sees like there's money on the table, so like, hey, now that everybody's distracted, it's time for us to get some money. So they go to do that, and he's like, what a haul. And he's like, the other one's like, we're gonna live like kings. So All of a sudden, as they're about to leave, he turns around and he's like, oh yeah, I still haven't tried the food yet. So he sees some of it just sitting on the table. He's like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and try it, see what all the craze is about. So he tries it, and we see that he immediately is just kind of like impressed, amazed, blown away. I don't even really know how many other ways to describe it. Like, he's just, you can tell by that reaction. So he starts like eating more of it, and he's saying like, fine, just a taste. Like, the other one says, all right, fine, I'll take a taste of it, and then we got to go. And then he also has like the same reaction where he's like, oh shit, this is amazing. So they just start like stuffing their faces and shit. And then we can see where they're being watched through like a hole in the wall and shit. So that's when we go back over to Mo. Like, all the other dudes are asleep. Like, they ate and they drank, they went to sleep, but Mo is still up. So she's like, all right, I'm gonna go and investigate on my own. So she comes up to chop her tangs and everything, and then she walks in and sees basically everybody kind of still eating, but some of them are asleep as well and everything. And then she sees, I'm assuming that's Chopper Tang, like talking from the back saying like, what is this? Another new face graces my establishment. Fortune smiles on me today. Welcome, young lady. Please take a seat. So she's just saying like, no, I'm fine. I've already like eaten a whole lot at the other place. Like, I don't need any more food. I was just curious about this place. And he's saying, at so late an hour and you can still draw such a crowd, or that's what she's saying. Your food must really be incredible. So he's like, oh, what praise? How am I to remain humble? But it's true, this town has been very kind to my restaurant, and my reputation has grown deep roots here. So he's saying, the folk know that when Chopper Tang fills their bowls, he gives them only the finest of local ingredients. So you may at this point be able to figure out sort of what's going on, but if not, it will be spelled out for us. So anyway, he starts laughing and shit and is like, oh, apologies. It can get lonely at night in my kitchen, or in the kitchen, and I must make my own fun from time to time. Now please let me serve you up something special. And she's like, I've only just prepared some or he's saying, I've only just prepared some choice cuts of the most exquisite meat you'll ever lay your eyes on. And she's like, yeah, thanks, but no, I don't eat meat. So she's like starting to leave, and he's like, oh, a veggie eater in my establishment. How can this be? You must truly be dedicated to the warrior's path. I can see it written on your flesh. So he starts like grabbing Mo and like examining her and shit. And so he's saying like, what firm muscles. I'd bet you could chop with that spear arm all day long. Oh, how I could use you in the kitchen. She's like, does that whole thing where she's like, let go of me. So she's saying, I did not come here to apprentice as a butcher. Good night, Chopper Tang. And she goes to leave. And this time he like falls to the ground and like starts doing this whole maudlin display of like, oh gods, like I've insulted a guest and everything. I've offended a new customer. What will my darling patron say? So he's like saying, please find it in your heart to forgive me. My reputation demands that this terrible wrong be righted. So she just kind of like stops and looks at him. And he's like, I'll be back in 2 scoots with a bowl full of heaven, young one. So he's just like, don't go anywhere. And we can see where he's like looking all scary and shit as he's like slipping into the back. So she's just kind of standing there. She's like, okay, something's off with this guy very clearly. So she looks over and she sees these like 2 ball things or whatever, which she knows, I believe, belong to one of my mountain bandits' bells. There it is, their bells. What are you doing here? So, because she doesn't see them either, so she goes and like looks toward the back, and that's where she sees one of them where he ate so damn much he's just kind of there like incapacitated and shit. So she says, Hot Pan, what are you doing back here? And he's like, boss, that you? He says, we were scouting just like we said, and then, well, she's like, okay, and then what? Where's your friend? He says, oh, he was here a second ago. That goofy chef was none too happy that we pinched some of his meat. Took him back to the kitchen saying that he had to pay back what we owed. So he's saying, like, he's been in there a while. I hope he brings some more meat out soon. So she's like, all right, that's it. I've heard enough. So she, like, walks out to all the people. She's like, it's people. The meat is people meat. So she's, like, telling them, Chopper Tang is feeding you your own neighbors. Stop eating and run. So they all just kind of, like, stand there and they're like, oh, shit. You know what I mean? And then she's like, all right, now I'm going to go deal with this whole situation. And she sees where Hot Pan is eating again. She's like, would you stop? So she's like, out, spit it out. And she starts like kicking him and shit. So from that, she leaves him there on the floor because he was kind of throwing some of it up. And then she goes to the back to confront Chopper Tang. And she says, you will prey on these townsfolk no longer. And that's when she like walks back there and sees that, oh shit. Actually, come to find out, yeah, it is people meat, but it's coming from him. Like, they cut the meat off of his arm, and then he, like, heals, he regenerates and shit. So, yeah, That's what they've been eating. They've been eating him. And if you look at his arms, he has these like big boils or warts or whatever. Just fucking gross. So we see that, and then she's like, pray. Or yeah, Topper Tang's like, pray. No, no, no. They are my valued customers. They know how much of myself I put into every meal. So he's like, come, have a taste. And we can see, like, behind her, they all kind of have this, like, glowing red eye thing going on where I guess they've been turned rabid by it. And he's able to, like, I guess mind control them now that they've eaten enough of him, which is gross. So that's where this issue actually leaves off. And we'll see how that continues. But yeah, this whole body horror storyline is going to be a doozy to get through because, I mean, just gross. I like it, but gross. So, I mean, I don't know how that's going to play out, but we'll see. Like I said, I don't know how long it'll take for, like, the next issue of this to come out, because it took forever for this one to come out. Like, I think it was, like, what, a month and a half between when I did the review of the last one and this one. I did do a review of the last one, right? If not, well, no, yeah, I did. I remember talking about it. Anyway, yeah, this one, we're just barely on issue 3, and it feels like it's been going on forever. But the story is good, so at the very least, there's that, you know? I have that to kind of hold me over, and then I have lots of other stuff that I read too, so it's just, I don't like it when it takes that long between issues, because I almost kind of forget, like, what the hell happened in the last one, but there's enough in there for you to, like, remember. They make references back to, like, what happened and everything, so it's easy for you to just kind of jump in and continue with the story. Like, you don't really have to read the previous issues to actually know what's going on or to be able to follow what's going on here. So that's one of the things that I always say is, like, the mark of a good story. So I think that's going to do it for my review on this one. But yeah, I don't know if anybody else out there is also trying to keep up with this series. If you've read it, if you had any thoughts on it, do feel free to share them down below in the comments with me. And if you didn't read it, feel free to tell me what you thought of that whole twist of the whole, you know, they're eating meat that's him. It kind of reminded me actually of that episode of Teen Titans, you know, the one where Beast Boy starts working at that restaurant that's like run by creepy aliens and shit, and it's supposed to be like a meat restaurant, like a burger place, and then come to find out it's actually new food because it's like the source, whatever, the like tofu block, the talking tofu block, just kind of like makes more of itself, sort of, and then it just, like, that's what they're actually eating. So yeah, that's what I thought of when I saw that. I was like, this kind of reminds me of Teen Titans. So gross, like, Teen Titans definitely did it in a much less gross way than this, you know what I mean? But yeah, that was just what I thought about. So if you have any thoughts about this particular storyline, do feel free to share those down below in the comments with me. And if you enjoyed this video, then definitely make sure to like the video, make sure you're subscribed, go ahead and share out the video because I do appreciate it. Make sure you have the notification bell on. That way you know when I'm putting up another review video. But if you're done here, guys, then go and read a book, particularly this one. And if not, then I'll see you on my next video.